Welcome back to the Four Elements Press LGBTQ Authors Series, where we feature LGBTQ authors and their works and speak to them a little bit about why they do what they do, how they got to be authors, and what messages they have for the LGBTQ community of today and of tomorrow. This week we have Rob Gutro. He is a multi-published author with a couple different varieties of works. Some do center around the LGBTQ community. He'll speak a little bit about that. And as a gay author himself, he'll be able to speak a little bit about his experience in writing and then writing as a gay author to the LGBTQ community. Rob, I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you, Alexander. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. Um, so I am, by trade, I'm actually a scientist. I'm a meteorologist. And I have this crazy gift that I developed when I was 13 years old. Um, and that is to talk to people who passed away. And in 2005, I realized I could also communicate with pets that passed away. So um, I use my scientific background to explain how the paranormal works, and all of my books are true paranormal. And two of my books, um, one is about, two of my books are LGBTQ themed. One involves my communications with my husband's late partner, and the other one involves my paranormal investigation with the only paranormal investigator drag queen in the US.
That's incredible work. And then how many books have you published in total?
So I published 12 books, and they're in three different series. So the first series is the one I mentioned first, Pets in the Afterlife. I teach people how pets communicate from the afterlife and what signs to look for from your pets that passed. And the second series is called Ghosts on a Medium's Vacation. Whenever I've gone on vacation, dead people like to talk to me and tell me their stories. So, and then I prove who they are. So that series of books is a mystery of history and hauntings. So if you like both travel and hauntings, that's a series for you. The third series is about ghosts and spirits. And I make a distinction there because ghosts are earthbound and spirits are those who have crossed over, like our grandparents or great grandparents and so forth, or some of our childhood pets have passed over. So they're spirits. Ghosts, earthbound ghosts, choose to haunt a fixed location that they're familiar with. Um, so my two LGBTQ themed books fall into the ghosts and spirits categories.
Okay. Okay. So in thinking about the novel where you talk about communicating with your husband's previous partner, is that an instance where you're communicating with a ghost or a spirit?
A spirit because he has crossed over. So the spirit's name is Ed, and Ed passed away in 1996. I didn't meet my husband to be until 2005, and
Mm.
and I have one of those husbands who doesn't talk about his past at all.
Ah,
Period. So when I met him, his late partner Ed, that I never met in life, came with him.
yeah,
And Ed started to tell me all kinds of things they used to do, a nickname he had for my husband, and just how they worked together and how they didn't work together, what kind of car he drove, all kinds
yeah,
of things. And my husband Tom confirmed those things.
yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Ed also solved the mystery of his own death, which was something that his father had been grieving since 1996. And I was able to, through Ed, give him peace.
Yeah. I love how, well, first of all, I feel like that's a really interesting, almost superpower to have that I feel like a lot of people maybe in our community could probably um, relate to or maybe even envy. But I'm sure it comes with its own baggages as well. Um, but I love how you speak to the way that communicating and also storytelling was able to help a grieving father, to help
Mhm.
resolve present issues by reflecting on the past too and kind of uncovering the past. I think that's a really important tool to consider when writing, um, especially for the LGBTQ community, but also for the broader community, because so much of who we are just psychologically is derived and almost dependent on who we were. So to my novel also kind of reflects a little bit on the main character's pasts, histories, and how also reflecting on those things changes you as an individual. So it's really interesting to see how you weave that into your work as well. Um, Now, do you see a lot of instances of that on more of the paranormal investigative novels? Like, for instance, the one featuring Monique Too Soon, or
So the book with Monique Toussoun, who's the paranormal drag queen, that I did an investigation with. That one was actually investigating earthbound ghosts.
mm,
That was None of those ghosts were LGBTQ.
right.
One was actually a young child. One was a straight man who was married and devoted to his wife. And the other one was a very stern conservative guy who was very religious, if you will, and
Mm.
he turned out to be very nasty uh,
Oh,
in death. Yeah. So, so
yeah,
he's stuck as an earthbound ghost, and all right.
that is really interesting. Yeah, the work we do on ourselves transcends, and the work we neglect also seems to transcend as well. So, all the more important why these books, in terms of representation, definitely matter and are justifiably shared. Um,
So one thing I want to point
yeah.
out is that so when people cross over and become a spirit, no matter what you've done in this life, you have an awareness whether or not it was a bad action or it was a good action, and you always seek forgiveness. But those who don't cross over, those who decide to haunt a place and as an earthbound ghost, they maintain their awful personalities. And I will tell you that most people who choose to stay as a ghost were not good people. And the
Mm.
reason they stayed behind is because they're afraid of what awaits them on the other side. So this guy, who was a very strict, kind of nasty guy, um, obviously didn't cross over because he was afraid,
Yeah.
because he obviously hurt people when he was alive. So the bottom line is treat everybody well, because you may regret it
Yeah.
on the next level.
Yeah. Do you, because your experience as a scientist and your experience in your careers has to be mentioned. It's pretty incredible to work for NASA. Um, does any of that kind of expertise or scientific background come up in your writing at all? And how did you experience also, I'm not sure if you were open then, but being a gay man in a government agency like that,
Mhm.
what was your experience like? I think our viewers would find that really interesting too.
Sure. So I can say that I'm happily retired. After 24 years, and retirement is something I recommend for everyone. It's
Yeah.
great. Um, so so I'll answer. There's two parts to that question. So my background as a scientist really comes in handy in my books because I use science to explain how the paranormal is and how it works, and it's all really based on the science of energy. The law of conservation of energy states energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. And in my books, I explain the types of energy, whether physical energies or emotional energies, are used to empower either ghosts, earthbound, or spirits who've crossed over. So I go into depth with those things so people can understand how it works. Um, in terms of your second question, yes, I was out at work, and I really didn't care. You know, I will tell you that the federal government, um, before this current administration came along, was very welcoming. Um, they tried to make sure that there was diversity and inclusion and protections. Um, so it made it much easier to be who you are. You know, and I went to work, and I was talking about my husband, just like everybody else talks about their spouses. Um,
Yeah.
there's you have to be careful, certainly, because you're going to run into some bigots. You just need to be careful which ones they are and avoid them or not talk about it. I did have the misfortune with one person who, not because I'm gay, but because I wrote a book about ghosts, tried to get me fired. Yeah, yeah, she's a hateful, hateful thing. And one thing I learned about talking to dead people is that karma is actually real. So if you are horrible to somebody, it's going to come back to you. And so that's why I recommend always be nice to people. And even people that don't agree with you, you don't have to be extra nice. You just have to be tolerant of
Yeah. Yeah, really big life lessons in every industry, I've found definitely. And I was on an interview yesterday with someone who's running for office locally, and our discussion was mostly around acceptance and looking for connection.
them.
And I find, in my career, connecting with others has been the cornerstone of that success. No matter where I was, whether I was serving coffee or working professionally, and then as a writer in writing as well. So, yeah, look for the connection in people because you will find it with everyone if you open yourself up to that. But yeah, when you are closing yourself off and you don't know who you could potentially be hurting, but
Mhm.
also the potential that you could be missing out on in that could have been your best friend. That could have been someone that you could have worked really close with at work and found great success with. Um, yeah, don't let those negative people get in your way because just keep moving in the direction of love and acceptance and you will find the people that you're supposed to be around in
Yeah,
essence.
absolutely. And yeah, and you might have to weed through some, obviously, but look for a common ground. Because I'm a dog dad, and I've written books about pets in the afterlife. I don't care what people's political affiliation is. I when it comes to pets and communicating with pets, I don't ask people what their political affiliation is. I don't care. It's really about being a good pet parent. So that's like one topic that people love to talk about is are their pets. So things like that
Yeah.
will bring us together.
And have you, specifically with your LGBTQ novels, have you gotten any outreach from readers that have from the community that have found your book?
I have. Yeah, I've received some nice emails from people who have actually read the latest book, the Haunting of Emery Estate with the Monique Toussoun, the drag queen,
Yeah,
and they loved the book. And just because she's a drag queen, they don't even pay attention to that. It's really about the story.
yeah,
So, and I have found that more people that get into the story and then just because Monique is a drag queen, it doesn't really matter. They're much more accepting of that. Same thing with with the spirit Ed and Kindred Spirits.
Mhm.
They're when people read this, and I've heard from a lot of straight people that have read Kindred Spirits and absolutely love it, because Ed teaches us how spirits communicate to their loved ones.
Okay.
Um, and by the way, Alexander, I want to tell you that Ed has never stopped communicating with me since I published that first book. So Kindred Spirits 2 is almost done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Very exciting. Um, yeah, I love too how your books focus on spirits with the paranormal. They're investigative, they're creative, but they're also very instructional and very centered around the human experience.
Hmm.
And uh, that's a key takeaway for anyone writing in any genre. You're writing to capture a little bit of the human experience. Sometimes that's after death. Sometimes it's in a fantasy world. Um, I find with LGBTQ media too, we're a lot of the times kind of supposed to fit into a genre box, or what's popularized is just in a specific genre in general. Like right now, uh, gay romance might be hot in the market, right?
Hmm.
So there could be a temptation to write a gay romance. Uh, in terms of movies and cinema, it seems like that the LGBTQ or the gay cinema experience is like set in drama, and it's like a torturous drama, and
Oh,
there's a bunch of struggle, and you can find these examples on streaming services. But um, yeah, that's why I also wanted to highlight you, because you bring a different genre, you bring a different feel to your work. And I think it's important for authors of all backgrounds to be writing in a variety of genres, because the more that we kind of push the boundaries in all of these different areas, the more
mhm.
we'll be able to reach our communities, different communities who might not be reading just strictly gay romance, right? Um, and then it opens the opportunity for the reproduction of mass media, um, like movies, stuff like that, to be kind of broadly more viewed and accepted in community. And it's important to have voices like yours with us to kind of help not only with your success of 12 books by yourself, two upcoming, it sounds like, at least, and then we've spoken a little bit about work you've done with others to help them through the publishing process,
Hmm.
and that can kind of tie a little bit into how you market your books if you'd like to kind of jump off there.
Sure. So I found that I, I've said to a number of people that writing the book is the easiest part. It's really marketing.
Yeah.
Um, you have to be your own your own marketer. So fortunately, working where I did for NASA, I worked in the communications office. So I learned what a press package is. I learned what a press kit is, what reporters need. They need a press release. They need an image or a photo of the person or a photo of the book cover. Um, they need an excerpt of the book, which would contain the first couple of chapters or um, several chapters that are left that are not, the end is not provided. So people who get the excerpt will want to read the end of those chapters. Um, I've also created promotional postcards. Promotional postcards are really helpful, especially when you go to do public appearances, because not only people want to look at the cover of your book, but they want to know what a summary of the book on the back, and they want to know links like website, social media links, email, ways to get a hold of you. Um, and when you go do public appearances too, not everybody is ready to buy a book, but if it catches their eye, you have given something to them that they can use as a bookmark somewhere else, and they'll pull it out eventually every now and then finally say, okay, this interests me. I'm gonna buy it. So those kinds of things. Everybody should really consider developing a website too. Um, I use GoDaddy.com,
Yeah.
and it's been really great. I started off as using a blog like Blogspot, which is free. GoDaddy has, they charge for it, but it's not outrageous. Um, you can learn to be your own website creator in GoDaddy, and they have great support for people like me who are sometimes technically challenged. Um, so websites are another thing, and being on social media. You and I talked about all the different social media platforms, and that's hard. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I'm on seven.
Yeah.
Um, and I create one thing a day. I have to do it a day. I started out once a week and nobody ever paid attention.
Mm.
You have to just put yourself out there all the time. And it's a lot of work. And then you can share that one thing on the seven platforms. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing too that I found was platforms like TikTok, which may or may not be in existence at the end of the year. We don't know. Um, but my videos on TikTok the numbers have been astronomical compared to YouTube
Okay.
or Instagram or any other platform. So you really have to pay attention
Mm.
to those things too.
Yeah. That's really interesting that TikTok has been the spot where it's like your posts have kind of taken off. That's great. And with that, do you do like short videos or text or image posts? How do
Well,
you?
yeah, with TikTok, you have to do videos. I worked in radio 20 years part-time, and I always tell people I have a face for radio, not for video. So I feel more comfortable behind a radio than I do on video. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you're doing
I,
great.
oh, thanks. I also tell people I look better in bad lighting. So if I can get bad lighting set up, I'll do a video.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, Incredible. So definitely, yeah, with the press package, the postcard, having something to hand people, so that they can hold on to it. They'll hold on to it. If they know they want to buy your book, they will buy it. Um, as a reader, I know firsthand once a book gets in my mind
Mhm.
that I really want to read, I'm gonna have a receipt for it very soon. Um, Outside of that, what you said about the website is awesome too. I found doing with the posts on social media, um, but also having the newsletter through the website is like one of the most useful tools that I found with more of online connections and even in-person connections. So when I go to events, what I do is have a list and then people can put their emails to sign up for the mailing list for Four Elements Press so that anytime we post an article, like for our LGBTQ author series where you'll be featured, they'll get it right in their inbox. They'll get used to opening it every weekend, or however often you post on there.
Mhm.
Um, and then it also opens up the opportunity to kind of share like-minded and maybe things outside of your kind of specialty, but that are important to your audience and community in general. Um, and then they'll unsubscribe when they've had enough of you. But, they'll be accustomed to you. They'll be accustomed to your voice, your work, and then all the more reason to support um, your books and your other interests as well. Um, we'll be posting the video for the series also on YouTube. So that'll be another outlet. Um, Maybe pushing them out on TikTok as well, maybe for certain clips that might speak to an audience or speak to a specific topic.
Hmm.